What if I tell you, you have all been to prisons before, you just did not know it? As a lawyer, part of my job is to keep people out of prison. But what if I told you, I have been imprisoned myself? When we think of a concept of a prison, we often think of a physical place, four walls, one door, layers of locks, confined, restrained, trapped. But what if I told you, prisons don't always have doors, and you've all been to this prison? And no, I'm not talking about the lockdown during the pandemic, even though it came really close. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. But first, let me tell you about my time in prison. On 1st October 2009, I left Vietnam to the UK when I was 15, alone, to attend boarding school. That was my first prison. As a first child in a traditional Asian family, I had three choices: lawyer, doctor, or engineer. So naturally, I chose law school, and after graduation and a lot of struggle, I secured a high-paying job at this huge international law firm. By 26, I had traveled Europe and Asia, moved to Australia, and worked for one of the biggest law firms based in Melbourne. I met a handsome man who encouraged me to be my best self. I ate well, worked out every day, and was finally able to afford a nicer apartment. I was financially independent, well-traveled, healthy, and was sort of in love. Life was so happy, so together, and when happiness consumes you, it's easy to feel like it's going to last forever. Until it wasn't. On 13 November 2019, I woke up with an excruciating pain in my lower body. A lump was growing inside of me at a pace so fast that I went from being active and full of life to lying in bed, completely dependent on others for simple tasks such as going to the toilet. I couldn't do it myself. I took a lot of painkillers to manage the pain, and for the first time in my life, I understood what drugs addicts must feel like, because I couldn't wait to get to my next dose of painkillers. I was eventually hospitalized, and after a major operation, I was discharged. 10 days later, I found myself in the office packing up my stuff. I was let go of my job, the job that I was so proud of. The handsome man, who once said he cared about me more than anyone else in the world, then sat me down and said he no longer wanted me in his life. Within a month, I lost my body, I lost my career, I lost a relationship that I thought was special. I was alone in a foreign country. And of course, I could no longer afford the apartment that I've been dreaming about. Those were some hard pills to swallow, as I spent the next months cramming my throat with antibiotics as my body was healing. I cried and drank and wrote self-journals, love letters. There were nights I was on my knees trying to shove this emotion back into my chest. The room was always so quiet. I could hear the sound of my heart breaking. I asked why things happened, what they really meant, and if I deserved any of them. I asked myself, would I ever be happy once more? Would anyone ever love me for me, unbroken and lost, and failed at everything I do? I was trapped, physically and mentally. It felt like a prison, my prison. That's the prison I'm talking about today. the mental institution that you involuntarily lock yourselves in. How often do you feel trapped in a body that every time you look in the mirror, you feel like you're too fat, too old, too skinny, that you're supposed to be a woman trapped in a body of a man? How often do you feel stuck in a toxic relationship that you feel too afraid to leave? In a job that you hate but cannot quit? In a financial situation that feels so dire that it feels suffocating, like you could never get ahead? And as you sit in the prison of mind, you wonder, when would you ever be happy like everyone else? And the worst thing about this prison of mind is, at least with a physical prison, you know when your sentence will end, so you can count the days. With the prison of your mind, there is no timeline, no key, no escape route. Now, I'm here today, standing in front of you with my own 2 feet, and I'm telling you, just standing here today is a miracle. After several operations, I can now walk, and every time I take a step, I remember what it feels like for my feet to touch the ground. I left a big law firm so I could start my own practice in a completely different field to what I was doing before. Now I help hundreds of people navigate the legal justice system. I'd like to think that if I keep someone out of prison or in this country without being deported, then I'm helping a mother, a father, a chance to go back to their kids and rebuild their life. And love comes and goes. But I know when love knocks on the door again, I will be ready. But you know what I'm really ready for? I'm ready to move into my new home tonight. I just bought my own place. I had to be in prison to find my freedom. I had to let go of the blame, of blaming myself, blaming others. I had to let go of the expectations of life, of what life was meant to be. I had to let go of the idea of who I was to find my freedom. So, taking from that experience, today I'm going to show you how to prison break, just like the character in a very famous TV show. Are you ready for it? Well, step 1, recognize that you are in a prison. I'm sorry to break it to you, but sometimes you move from one prison to the next prison. And it's important for you to recognize what that prison is. I work with a lot of offenders who come in and out of prison. The crazy thing was, they would go into prison, get out, and do the same offense, commit the same offense again, and go into prison again. It's like a cycle. And the problem with it is because they don't recognize their own patterns. So you need to recognize your own patterns. Be desperate enough to change that pattern. Step 2 is to imagine your life differently. If you were the version of yourself that had complete freedom, who would you be? What would you do? As a lawyer, I talk to clients every day about their problems. I just give them the cold, hard truth, just objective, logical solutions. So every time I find myself being the prison of my mind again, I ask myself, if I was my own lawyer, what would I do? Maybe I should start listening to my own advice. So you should do the same thing. If you were the version of yourself that had what you wanted, what would you say to yourself and what would you do? Research shows that people who believe in their own ability to control their life, what psychologists call self-efficacy, are more likely to overcome life's challenges and achieve their goals. The belief that you're in control of your life is powerful. It helps you more focused, more determined, and more resilient. It helps shapes our mindset from the victim of our own circumstances to the architects of destiny. So leave. Leave what no longer serves you. The guilt, the blame, the pain, the shame, leave it behind and move forward with all the pieces that you have left. The matter of being is not just about existing. It's about living with intention, with purpose. You are every possibility that this universe can manifest. So become that and embrace the experience of being in prison, even that experience, and live it fully. You know, when you embrace that experience, it doesn't feel so painful anymore. And remember this too, you are not alone. We are all in this together, united through this interconnected universe, through pain and resilience. As you can see, we all share the same pain, one way or another. And remember, you are not alone either, because you have visitors in your prison. They are your family, your friends, your pets. They come to see you in prison every day, so talk to them, talk to someone, please. Now, finally, I'm going to give you the key to your prison door. Are you ready? Listen very carefully. The day you leave prison is the day you decide to leave. It's that simple. The prison of your mind is just as real as you want it to be. The moment you decide to leave prison, the door automatically opens. Freedom starts with a decision to live life on your own terms. So, I'll ask you one last time. What kind of prison are you in? And when will you decide to leave? Now, I've got a little present for you. Here is your key. You're welcome.